it's not about whether the work is important. We need to figure out what is important for ourselves. So, what matters to me? When we figure that out, then we can move from languishing to flourishing. Why do we languish? Because we can't really understand why we are doing what we are doing. Game is about understanding what matters to you. PhD journey, that whole process is actually, recognizing small successes and understanding whatever you're doing research on, right? How about you switch it also to you realizing also about yourself, your strengths, and your opportunities for improvement.
Biopatrika, your very own online science communication platform, brings science closer to you in many ways. To continue with our mental health series, PsyConnect Academy by Biopatrika welcomes all science enthusiasts to our podcast on life coaching. I, Pragya Gupta, and my co-host Nikhil Kumar Tulsian have been given the opportunity to speak to our executive and life coach Anupama Murali about self-awareness, leadership training, and ways to overcome professional hurdles.
Welcome, Anupama. So, to our audience, Anupama Murali, she is a life coach based in Singapore. She has pursued her Masters of Communication Applications, Computer Science in India. And now she's an active life coach, as my co-host Pragya has mentioned. And she helps a lot of people through various ways. I have known her for quite some time. And in my initial days, when I moved back to Singapore, it was quite helpful to talk to Anupama. So, Anupama, thank you for accepting our invitation and be part of our podcast series.
Thank you, Nikhil. Thank you, Pragya. I'm looking forward to our chat today.
Before we start to the Q&A session, can you introduce yourself a bit?
So I would like to introduce myself from a professional angle. And my professional journey has been from IT to IT. For 15 years of my life, I did IT consulting. As you mentioned, I've done my master's in computer applications. Right out of college, I joined the company that I worked for 15 long years. 15 years, not long years, but 15 years. And then I decided to figure out something that I would like to do in a more flexible manner. So after 15 years, I moved into a world which was very different from information technology, but it was still IT, and that's inner transformation. For 5 years after I stopped working for my company, I started teaching meditation courses. And I think that's where we met as well, Nikhil. And subsequently, I was in the search to see what more I can do in the space of transformation for myself and others. So that's where I went into life coaching. So I'm a life and an executive coach. And I really enjoy working with my clients in the space of self-discovery and helping them realize their potential.
Thank you so much for introducing yourself, Anupama. And like you emphasize on mental wellness, not mental health. Can you please distinguish between the two for our audience?
Yeah, this is interesting. Both these terms are used interchangeably, mental health and mental wellness. Now, they are little different, in fact, very different, I would say. Mental health is if we don't have any mental illness which can be diagnosed, then you have good mental health. Just anxiety, personality disorder, or even depression, which needs to be treated. So when one doesn't have these conditions, then they have good mental health. But mental wellness is much broader. It is an internal resource where we are talking about various aspects. One is mental, which is our thinking. How do we think and how do we use that? Then the emotional part, how do we feel? And how do we manage our emotions? Then also the part where we interact with people, the connection that we have with people. And lastly, how do we function in life? So it is much more broader. It's about feeling good, having connection with others, realizing one's potential, contributing to society. So it is not simply about not having illness. It's much more than that. So if I were to draw a line of mental wellness to say, okay, if I were to see, okay, how do we know that we are mentally well? Then you must have heard this terminology of languishing and flourishing, right? Languishing is where you are aimless. There's no enthusiasm. It's not that you have a mental illness. You're not mentally ill. There's no depression, anxiety, but you just don't have that energy to pursue things in life. On the other end of the spectrum is flourishing, where you are spirited, you are still satisfied, like you have this feeling good about yourself and applying yourself again and again. So that's where resilience really comes from. And today's uncertain times, we really need to have that resilience, right? So mental wellness, resilience is one part of it. So to summarize, I would say mental wellness is not just simple absence of mental illness, it's much broader than that.
Yes.
So, like you have pointed out, Anupama, languishing. So, it is a very common problem amongst us. So, do you have any advice on how to overcome if you don't feel any desire to do your work, which is very important?
You use a word in this question itself, which is very important.
Yeah.
It's not about whether the work is important. We need to figure out what is important for ourselves. So, what matters to me? When we figure that out, then we can move from languishing to flourishing. Why do we languish? Because we can't really understand why we are doing what we are doing. We can't make sense of that. Then you feel, what is the point? That's languishing. But when you really ask a deeper question, saying, why am I doing what I'm doing? And why does it matter to me? You may find out some insights which can take you in a different direction, and that can lead to flourishing, either that way, or you, because you have uncovered why you're doing what you're doing, even your current, whatever you're doing, starts to present itself differently. So we have to move away from, I have to do this because that is important, to asking ourselves, saying, why do I have to do this? What makes it important for me? That's where the switch happens.
Okay.
Yes, so it is important to distinguish between languishing and flourishing. And it is also important to understand what is a mental wellness versus a mental health. And if you talk to various people, you hear various sorts of their problems. So it is not uncommon that when you hear these problems, you yourself feel dejected or sad. How do you overcome this and not let your personal thoughts or mood be affected?
You mean as a coach and a mentor?
Yes, as well as in your own life.
Right. So, Nikhil and Pragya, I would say very fortunate enough to have these multiple conversations with different people because I really enjoy them, first of all. And when I'm having those conversations, I'm really being that intent listener, non judgmental there. So, really offering myself in terms of presence and listening to them. Now, when I'm listening, I'm just offering that space for that person to share. So, being empathetic and compassionate allows me to not take that on myself. There's, you must have heard this word sympathy and empathy, right? Sympathy is where you said, oh, poor thing, this shouldn't have happened to you. And you take that weight also sometimes. It's not of any use to that other person. Now, the risk with sympathy is that we also have a tendency to give too much advice. Let's take an example. If somebody were to say, I've not been able to sleep for many days and, I feel very exhausted in the morning. A way of showing sympathy is to say, oh my God, I've been there. You must take this tablet or do something and you'll feel a lot better. So this sympathy is, showing that you care, saying things that makes that person feel good, or you're thinking it's making them feel good. But if we go slightly ahead and talk about empathy, empathy is really being there for that person. So even if the same situation is presented, saying that I can see that this is very tough on you. Would you like to share more? How are you feeling right now? So really giving them that chance to share with me, allowing them that space where I am not really taking the emotion, but still holding that space for them. Okay. So empathy and compassion are also slightly different. In case of compassion, we are talking about one step further, offering help. I see that this is very difficult for you. Is there anything I can do for you? So when we come from that space, we are doing whatever we can, yet not taking that emotion. Hope that was helpful.
It is quite insightful. Yes, thank you.
So, like we have discussed, one such problem that people face in their life, but you must have come across diverse range of people coming from different backgrounds. So, have you found any common issue that they face, and like the people you coach or mentor? Is there any common issue that you observe among them?
Hmm. I'd like to take a moment to share about, what got me here. So my journey was as an IT consultant allowed me to do a lot of self-reflection. I had many days when I had roller coaster of emotions. I could just start with a very bright morning and feeling inspired, and then by the end of the day, feeling exhausted, or the other way around. When I went into meetings and when I was in front of clients, I had this surge of energy, and when I came out, I was like slumped. So that really got me curious to see if I can experience positive emotions, there must be a way to retain it, sustain it. What is really changing that positive emotion? Where am I losing this energy? Because I'm experiencing that good energy as well. So
Mm-hmm.
that is what really got me to self reflect and figure out what are my energy gainers and what are my energy drainers. And by eliminating the energy drainers, I found that I was able to function much better and back to that mental wellness, feeling good, feeling contented, having fulfillment, connecting with others, contributing, all that started happening. So back to your question, what is it that I see in people? I wouldn't say there are any issues, but people can come with any problems. They may say, I'm lacking self-confidence, or I have this constant thought of I am not good enough. I'll never be good enough. Or I always feel that others are judging me. I'm very fearful of others' opinions. They may actually come with anything. But when we dig deeper, what I find is that it's all to do with really understanding themselves. So I would say it's not the issue that I'm addressing. I'm addressing what that about the person, right? So when we dig deeper, it's about what really matters to me. Having the clarity of what matters to them helps them feel more confident. Why are we not confident sometimes? Because we don't even know what matters to us. Or when people say that, I'm always affected by others' opinions, they're unstable. So, how do I get them to be more stable? Again, it's about helping them connect with who they are. What is it that they want? What matters to them? The more they're established in that, I see that they are able to have clarity, stability, and enthusiasm. These are the three aspects I see that, most people are seeking, because then that allows them to flourish, I would say.
Yeah, this is an important point which you have conveyed, Anupama. Like, if we go for any meetings and if we getting mentally drained, it's just not about a meeting or a day, but many a time in our life, okay, we think, okay, this is working, let's do this. This is not working, let's not do this. It is okay for doing a short time, but if it goes on longer, many people thrive on those and may try to live by that. So there is a difference between reactive life and an intentional living.
Hmm. And that's the work I do, Nikhil. Earlier, I was saying, right, my own life, very reactive, just reacting to the situation. And that I found was having this roller coaster of emotions. I felt drained, I felt excited. I could not even predict how I would respond to the situation. Intentional living is to really say, okay, what is it? What is it that I would like to do in my life? And how is it that I would like to show up? So for me, stability is a value. It's a very important thing in my life. I value this mental stability where to be unshakable really matters to me. When I say unshakable, whether it is a praise and appreciation and somebody is like really saying good things, or somebody is like really criticizing, how can I be more equanimous? As an example, that matters to me. So then I need to make sure that whatever is coming in the way of that, I need to eliminate it. So that's all it is. The game is about understanding what matters to you. So if you are someone who wants to really be always coming across as enthusiastic, for example, and that matters to you, then you need to identify what makes you enthusiastic and what makes you less enthusiastic, and consciously avoid those things which make you less enthusiastic and increase those opportunities to make yourself enthusiastic. So that's the difference between reactive and intentional. You identify what is important and you apply yourself consciously to make it happen in your life.
That's true. So, like sometimes people forget who they are because they are running behind their goals so much that they forget what is surrounding them and what is actually important for them and why they are actually following their goals. And we are living in a very rapidly changing world and lots of uncertainties. And we want to succeed very fast and in a shorter time frame. So sometimes we set some impractical goals or deadlines for ourselves. So what is your advice on setting impractical goals and deadlines.
So again, really going to the back to the basics, right? So let's say that I have a learning and development goal this year, and I do have a learning and development goal this year. If I'm going to do it not for the right reasons, which is I want to be impressing someone, I want to do it because someone else has done it. Okay, it's not something I really want, but I think that unless I do this, I will not get respect. So these reasons, if they are the driver for my goal, then exhaustion will come, because somewhere along the way we have these thoughts saying, oh my God, I don't even know why I'm doing this. If anybody is having those questions while they're pursuing their goal, then they may just stop and ask this question: why does this matter to me? Why am I doing this? And if the answers to that comes as, I'm doing this because I want to impress someone, I'm doing this because this is the way it should be done, I don't know, that's what everybody does, then you need to really revisit that and see, okay, great, but is this what I want to do? Really looking at who you are and what matters.
Sorry to
And
cut you here,
yeah.
Anupama. I mean, this often comes from comparing ourselves with other people. And there I see lack of confidence. So it's like a complete flow of emotions, which is causing to the that kind of reaction that you want to chase, which is something not possible in your capacity at that particular moment of time. So we need to, as you're saying that we need to realize that fact and just be ourselves, because everybody has a different clock, everybody has a different timing. So things happen as the way it happens. For it is different for every individual, I would say.
And that is a beautiful insight. So don't set the timing, set goals for yourself. Of course, there's a timing. You want to achieve this in the next 5 years. But if you're going to set your clock and do everything because someone else has achieved it and you're not able to keep it up, then you need to really relook at that. Success is not only just getting to the destination, it's also what has happened during the process. Growth mindset, everybody talks about it. What is it really? Growth mindset is that attitude where we are pursuing something with the interest to learn and grow, not to get there and look around and say, oh, now I've got here, what do I do now? So many times we chase goals, we achieve that goal, and then we feel, oh, now I have to get to my next goal because that's what I do, right? But if you switch it to say, as I'm getting to that goal, what am I learning? So in learning about yourself, saying, why am I doing what I'm doing? What matters to me? All these are actually success, to be cherished as success. So when you look back, you see, during this journey, I learned this about myself. And that itself is a point of success. So it's not only where you get to the destination and you put that, checkered flag out there, I've reached there. But if you start looking at life as every learning about myself, everything, for example, taking a criticism in a more constructive manner. I was not able to do that 1 month ago, but now I can. When my friend actually shares their success, I used to feel very insecure, but now I'm feeling inspired. Is that something to count as success? Yes. So looking at self-discovery as also a measure of success is a way in which we'll not tire ourselves.
Even I fall sometimes in this loop of either comparing myself with others' success or measure my own success. Okay, last 5 years, next 5 years. It is very important to have clear set goals. And Anupama, as you mentioned, it's not just the destination which is important, but the journey also is important. We have to realize what is necessary, what is important, how much we have grown. As a PhD student or as a researcher, the main thing what we do is this: we realize what we're doing during the journey rather than just get a PhD degree and just say stop. That's not the aim of a PhD. That is to learn various things during the 4 to 6 years of a PhD.
Correct.
Fresh PhDs, you often focus on scientific skills and not always on other skills. And when they go for interviews, let's say for an industry job, other skills are very important, which should be gained during their PhD journey. What is your suggestion to mentees who transition from their focus to an overlooked aspect, let's say personal skill, in compared to scientific skill?
There's no way you can overlook it. So like you mentioned beautifully, that PhD journey, that whole process is actually, recognizing small successes and understanding whatever you're doing research on, right? How about you switch it also to you realizing also about yourself, your strengths, and your opportunities for improvement. So during that process of doing the scientific research, if you can start looking at, this is also an opportunity for me to know myself. And I'm not going to compare saying, oh, this person is so good, proactive, and this person is a perfectionist, so I have to be that way. No, that's not you. You are someone different. You may be bringing in a different aspect into your team or your conversations, right? So really looking at an opportunity also for yourself to understand your strengths and your opportunities for improvement. Why? Because the moment you're put out there, when you have to go and face an employer, potential employer, a simple question from them. So tell me about yourself. The classic question, right? The employer is trying to really get to know you in that answer. It is not about I'm a PhD, I've done this research, that they can see already in your profile.
Yeah.
What they're really looking at is, what is your strength? What have you recognized as your strength, and how can that strength add value to them? So it's not something that you do in a hurry before your interview. You start cultivating this during your educational process itself, and it's a lifelong process, Nikhil. Always being
Definitely.
curious. So that aspect of curiosity scientists have, right? That's why you're doing what you're doing, because you're very curious. So I invite you all to be curious about self-development and self-discovery. During this process, what am I learning about myself? For example, if a situation bothers you a lot during the PhD, it's for you to stop and think, what about this situation is bothering me? Superficially, you may be telling people, I don't know what is bothering me. I don't know why it is affecting me. But really having conversations with people who matter to you and who love you and can give you that attention about, this is bothering me and I want to know why. So that can reveal something about yourself to you. So being curious for self-discovery, Nikhil, during scientific discovery, that will let you prepare yourself for the real world.
Yes, it is important to be true to ourselves.
Absolutely, there's no other way.
Yeah.
And when we are not true to ourselves, that is where we get into I'm not good enough. This constant imposter phenomenon, imposter syndrome that is talked about. Why is that? Because I am not sure about who I am. What is it that I want? I do it because others are doing it. One of the characteristics of people who experience imposter phenomenon, especially in the research scientific world, is that super person. They want to be doing so many things, juggling so many things, because only then they feel that, okay, I've done something, right? This sense of needing accomplishment from various sources. But if you really talk to them and see they're overwhelmed and they are burnt out. So when they step back, and during coaching, I work with people on this, they step back and see, okay, what matters to me? Let me just look at that first. Suddenly they can shift from that reactive life to intentional living. They prioritize, they channelize themselves properly, and they start having excitement for excellence. And that is what it is.
Following up with the problems that a PhD faces during his or her journey, PhD often entails multiple facets in their personal lives as well. Like, as you said, that we juggle between, PhDs juggle between their work life and their personal life as well. And often they ignore their personal needs and make their professional needs as a priority. So what is one advice you want to give to maintain a balance? Like, you have a concept of achieve with equilibrium. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. And what is equilibrium? It's that state of balance between the external circumstances and my internal state. So no matter what is happening around me, how do I respond to it? Now, it's a very personal thing. So firstly, balance is very personal. So it's not that Nikhil balances his life a certain way, you can do it too, because your values and what matters to you is different. So first of all, recognizing that balance, equilibrium is actually a very personal thing. So one has to understand what is shifting us from that state. What is making me shift, right? So when you're going through the PhD journey, it is very intense. Obviously, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but also pausing and saying, okay, again, I'm doing this. What are my reasons for doing this? I'm curious about scientific discovery, and that is maybe going to be common among scientists who are doing these kind of research.
Mm-hmm.
But really looking further to see, okay, what is it that matters to me outside of this? Anything on the personal level, if it matters to you, recognizing that, so that you don't go far away from it and look back and say, oh, wish I had done this. I wish I'd taken care of this. The regret will not be there, right? And also, if suppose your schedule just doesn't allow you to have any of those personal aspects that matters to you, then bringing people who matter into the conversation. So family members, friends who are around you, instead of saying, okay, I'm busy, I don't have time for you. But somewhere within you, it matters to you that you have those connections. Bringing them into conversations and say, I know I'm appearing to be busy, but it matters to me and I will address this when I have some more time. So whenever you get that free time, going towards things that matters outside of the profession, giving that time to it will help you have that balance, because what you're doing is you're not tipping to one side.
Yeah.
You're making sure that, okay, you're coming back to equilibrium, and recognizing that during my PhD journey, I will never have that state where I can do everything that I want, because one thing is taking a lot of my attention. However, I'm not going to leave everything else out of the equation as well. I'm going to identify one or two other things which matter to me and give it attention as well. So that's the way one can balance. I don't know whether that was useful, but that's my tip.
What message I got from you is that as we set and we achieve milestones in our professional journey, we also have milestones in our personal journey which we need to take care of. And so it's part of life, as we say that a cart only can ride on two wheels, not just a single one. So yeah, that's a very good advice to how to make an equilibrium, come to an equilibrium to maintain both our personal as well as professional lives.
Yeah, and it's a very personal thing. So little bit you have to dig deeper, because it is individual. You can't really take tips from the internet and do it. You have to do it your way.
Yeah. So I was telling the same thing, but in my own words, like whatever balance we have in professionally, we may be subject matter expert, but it is equally important to be a personal matter expert as well. Being a life coach, you often conduct various workshops on self development and enoughness, and I have gotten a glimpse of it already. What are the contents of this course so that people who are listening to this podcast in future contact you and benefit from whatever you're offering to them?
Thanks for using the word enoughness. It's not very well understood yet, but if you really pause and think, enoughness is really the opposite of imposter phenomenon. It's that state of adequacy where we can own what we know and continuously grow and flourish. So in the enoughness workshop, I work with Dr. Lakshmi Ramachandran. We partner on this together and we are enoughness coaches. We're really passionate about this because the objective here is to help people feel excited for excellence, not strive for excellence. Striving, there is an inherent struggle. I have to get there, I have to get there. But being excited for excellence, there is an open mind, a fresh mind, there's a learning mindset. So, enoughness is about, first of all, owning what you know and constantly having that excitement to grow and flourish. So, in this workshop, we explore what could be the hurdles. It is not about standard content, it's about bringing people together and exploring what is coming in the way. You all want it anyway. What is coming in the way? Where is this I'm not good enough concept even coming? So that's the first exploration we do. And then we work through various ways in which they can address what is stopping them or coming in the way and feel more and more enough in their own life. So the enoughness workshop is about exploring what is coming in the way and then together partnering to see what could be ways in which they can do it differently. Of course, we give tips and tools and so on, but everybody has to make it their own. And you all know this. You must have been to so many webinars and workshops where tips and tools are given, but then you hear it and you're so excited and then you don't really implement it. So it's all about making it your own. So what we do is after that, we handhold them. We work with them on a personal coaching session to make sure that they can implement whatever they took away to really make a marked difference in their life. So the whole thing is about enoughness ignites the leader within. So when we feel enough, there is that leader within us which ignites. And when we have self-leadership, not only are we managing our own life better, we have the ability to inspire others as well.
Anupama, you also recently spoke about convenience over commitment, and I really like that video of yours. And that if we prefer convenience over commitment, that is the biggest hurdle of finishing tasks on time. Can you shed some important points on how to overcome that?
Absolutely. Firstly, that video was inspired by wisdom from Shri, who's the founder of the Art of Living. So, isn't it true? See, one is when we commit to what our vision is, then over time, there's also comfort. So, there is inconvenience when you begin with, when there is commitment, but when you pull through that inconvenience, you get comfort. Now, well, let's see what comes in the way of commitment is actually convenience, because we are so used to comfort. Giving up comfort is so inconvenient. So it's the same thing, right? You have to keep at commitment. To keep at commitment, you have to give up convenience, and eventually you will get the comfort. So in that video, I share a very different way of looking at it, to look at when to break commitment. So by that, addressing people to say, okay, if you're not falling under these three categories, don't break your commitment. Keep at your commitment. So the three things are, if you're committed without a vision, let us say you're committed to go every weekend and party with your friends. That's a commitment you have. Can that commitment be broken? Well, you can ask yourself, is there a vision? Am I getting better at something, or am I making a difference to someone? Vision is all about, making a difference to yourself, serving yourself or the community, isn't it? And you say, oh no, there is no vision here. That commitment that you've set for yourself can be dropped. Okay. Second is, if you have a commitment which is a lesser commitment, you can drop it for a greater commitment. For example, if you've set yourself that you have to have breakfast at a certain place every weekend, and you get an opportunity to go and do volunteering work at the same time somewhere else, that's a greater commitment. It's going to impact others. You can give up this lesser commitment for that. I'm just giving simple examples, right? Lesser commitment for greater commitments. Third thing is, if your commitment brings any sort of problems to others in the long run, that commitment can be given up. So if you're committed without a vision, or you have lesser commitments, you can give it up for greater commitments. Thirdly, if your commitment brings any problems to others, you can give it up. Otherwise, you should be committed to your commitment. So it was looking at the whole thing in a different way. Instead of giving tips saying, how can you not be going for convenience, telling people, if you're not ticking these three boxes, better stay committed.
I'm committed now, more towards achieving what I want professionally as well as personally, rather than being committed to the wrong things, as you mentioned. Thank you, Anupama, for sharing good pieces of advice with our listeners. And I myself have learned a lot. I will introspect myself, change my courses of action, and then be more attentive to what I am doing, and will it be useful for my next life. I want to be more practical and have enoughness in my life.
Fantastic. And wish you all the best, Nikhil. How about you, Pragya? What are you taking away today?
I'm taking away a lot of wisdom from you today, and I actually need it a lot at present situation, because I'm at the end of my PhD right now. So lots of things are happening, and I really appreciate how you explain how to prioritize your needs, and not to forget that what you actually want. So some insights are really, really useful for me.
Wonderful. So I wish you best, both
Thank
of you, to achieve with equilibrium, which is simply to go from reactive life to intentional living.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose of that is to enjoy the journey as much as getting to destinations.
Yeah. Thank you, Anupama.
So much, Anupama.
Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to speak to you. It's a recorded event, as we mentioned. If our listeners are interested to talk to you or have any questions, may they contact you?
Absolutely. We can share my LinkedIn and email, and also my website if they want to just silently go and check me out and not even get in touch, just explore. So there are various ways in which they could do that. So I'd be happy to share all that. And if they really want to connect and have conversations, then LinkedIn would be the best way.
Thank you so much, Anupama.
Thank you so much, Anupama. I guess you will be flooded by messages and emails hereafter, and we will have your contact details linked to this podcast for our listeners. Please do share your feedback with us on biopatrika.in@gmail.com. Now we take your leave and hope you will tune in again for our next interview very soon.